To.
You're listening to WICR, Iona College Radio.
Good day, Gales. I'm Rocky DePaula, joined by Gregor Hope Murray, and today we have somewhat of appalling news to talk about and a serious matter to discuss. Now, Gregor, as we know, or as every NFL fan knows about the whole Greg Hardy situation, what he did to his then girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and him getting released by the Panthers and signing the deal with the Cowboys and the whole situation with Jerry Jones. Describe to me what's your feeling about this situation.
Well, the entire situation surrounding Greg Hardy really, the best way to put it is it puts a sour taste in your mouth. You don't want it to. It's not something people want to talk about because it's just a very dirty situation. And unfortunately, the Cowboys have put it in a light where unfortunately everyone now has to talk about it because there's no way that a person like Greg Hardy who goes and beats his girlfriend should even be on a team, let alone this season. And yet now the Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has gone and said that he's now a leader on the team.
Unbelievable. Just disgraceful. Just disgraceful.
Yeah, no, that.
I mean, like, what is Jerry Jones looking at? Like, what is he thinking?
Well,
like, seriously.
I've always had issues with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has
is he all up there?
Hmm?
Is he like all up there though?
Yeah,
Makes you wonder.
I've always had issues with Jerry Jones because the problem with Jerry Jones is that he doesn't sit back and let his coach the team. He has to have his hands like in the mix, and he causes nothing but trouble when he gets in the mix. This case being a prime example of that, where there wasn't an issue. There was a lot of people ignoring what happened with Greg Hardy, but he's gone and found a way to put it into the spotlight, and everyone now is focusing back on how on earth did the NFL allow a person that did this to his girlfriend only receive a 4-game suspension.
No, actually, it was originally 10, but then he appealed it and it got reduced to 4.
But that's even worse then. It was a 10-game suspension and it got appealed down to 4. I mean, Tom Brady, the guy who supposedly had knowledge about deflating balls, he appealed his suspension for 4 games and got 0. It's like, so what? The guy beats his wife, says, I'm sorry, and it's like, well, you said sorry, guys. I guess we're going to knock it down to 4. I can tell he's sorry.
But also keep in mind, I think Goodell is also trying to, how can I say it, redeem himself from the whole Ray Rice situation. When he gave him 2 games, though.
Well, okay, with the Rice suspension that he did last year, he tried to redeem himself by saying, well, Ray Rice is out of the league then because it blew up in his face. And I don't think
because he suspended him for 2 games, and then the video came out, and then the whole thing just went AWOL.
Everything went AWOL, but at the same time, there's pictures of what Greg Hardy did to his girlfriend, and it's just incredible that after the entire debacle of Ray Rice last year, he goes and says, okay, well, we'll do a 10-game suspension, reduce it down to 4. That's not much better than the 2-game suspension that Ray Rice initially got. If the NFL wants to change its image, it's got to set a precedent where it's no longer just a case of we allow our players to be thugs when they're not on the field. They've got to set a precedent and say, no, we expect them to uphold themselves. There's a lot of
thugs in the NFL.
Yeah, they got to uphold themselves to the same standards we hold all of society to. If a guy goes and beats his wife and gets in trouble with the police, chances are he'll probably hear about it from his boss and may or may not still have his job come the following week.
But you know what I don't get? When the Cowboys signed Greg Hardy in the offseason, how come they didn't have access to those photos? Or why are those photos leaked now? Is what I don't understand. It's unfathomable.
Okay. So... So
There's our guest for the day.
Yeah, no, it's one of those.
It's unfathomable, though.
It is, but at the same time, the NFL, there's NFL teams that are willing to take that risk and say we'll take the PR hit for getting this guy. If he wins,
winning.
If we win something out of taking this guy, we'll take all the PR it's necessary. And that's the entire idea behind taking these very questionable players. I mean, the Ravens did it for years, where they had Ray Lewis with his trouble that he got into in his rookie season. You had...
I think it was his 4th season, to be exact. 4th or 5th. No, 4th. It was before Super Bowl 34.
Yeah, it was early in
Yeah.
his career, and they kept
The
with
year
him.
before they won the
They
Super
stuck
Bowl.
behind him.
Yeah.
And there's been other players on the Ravens.
But they had no evidential proof for like what he did.
Right.
I think he was just there.
But there's been
Yeah.
other Ravens players besides Ray Rice. Terrell Suggs, I believe, has been in trouble himself. There's been a lot of players on their team that have been in trouble, and they just push it aside because, hey, they got to the AFC Championship twice, got and won a Super Bowl. Why not take the bad players if they're going to win you something? No one's going to care in 10 years' time. 10 years' time, the Ravens won't be looked at as the team that had a bunch of wife beaters or murders or whatever it is. They're the Super Bowl winning champs, and that's all that matters in the end.
I think not just with the NFL, but like in sports, we view players as like athletes as opposed to people, and we kind of forget, hey, they're the same thing as us. They're human beings. They're capable of making mistakes. It's just that all matters because of how they are or like who they are. They can get away with certain stuff where it's like the average human being, like say you, me, or the average guy on the street cannot.
Well, but that's the wrong way to approach it.
Let me ask you this: if Greg Hardy, let's say he was an average person, he was just an average Joe, and he did what he did, do you think he would be in jail?
Yes, I'd think
Definitely,
he'd still be in jail.
100%. He'll be in jail.
He'd still be in jail, and that's why it's even worse that he's actually out on the field right now. Is that there's children watching these shows of all these games, and there's announcers announcing to them what they are doing, and they're like, well, look, this guy got away with beating up his girl, and he's making millions of dollars, and he's famous.
They get a malicious or a bad perception about it. Yeah.
It's absolutely atrocious that we even are making this exception, and that's why I say the NFL has to change its procedure, where if someone gets in trouble for this level of crime, they cannot get an only 4-game suspension. You got to be looking at either 12 games to maybe 10 games. They've got to lose the majority of their season. 4 games is nothing. 4 games still means you can still make it to the playoffs. And
it's only 1/4 the season. 4 games.
It's not enough time for the crime.
But the thing is, Jerry Jones, it's like you gotta ask yourself, if he were to, let's say he would have released Greg Hardy after the photos got revealed, do you think he still would have gotten grief from, let's say, the Dallas media or the Cowboy fans saying, oh, you let go of a good player that can win us the division, Well, or would you think people would praise him?
No, I think.
See, that's the thing.
Jerry Jones has dug his own grave on this one.
Very few owners would do that. They wouldn't have the gall to do that.
Once you have signed a player like this, you cannot go back on it. You have already declared yourself.
You're committed to him.
Yeah, you've declared yourself the villain and willing to accept that role. You cannot go back and say, look, I'm the good guy now.
Yeah.
No, you've already said, I don't care what happened. I'm going to take him regardless. It's like if the Patriots had re-signed Aaron Hernandez after he had
that would never happen with that franchise. Never. They don't tolerate with that.
I mean, I love one of my favorite stories from Kraft when he first took over the team. They wanted to go draft a player that had off-the-field issues, including beating his girlfriend at the time, and he was a top-round prospect, and Kraft came and said, no, we will not draft this guy. It went against what he believed in. It went against what his wife believed in. And they would not take a first-round prospect because of what he did off the field.
Robert Kraft is kind of like the Maras with the Giants or the Rooneys with the Steelers. Or even with Eddie DeBartolo in the 49er teams, in the 80s and in the 90s. They don't take troublesome guys. If you're trouble, they don't want to associate themselves with you. They won't even take a chance.
Right, and we can't have the entire. Listen, I don't expect the entire NFL to hold themselves to the same standard. Not everyone is gonna be the same as the high ups like Maras and Crafts. Not everyone is gonna hold them to that high moral standard. Which is why the NFL needs to put together a set of rules where when the player gets in trouble with the police, they can't play for a lot of time because, listen, they're already making millions of dollars. They shouldn't need incentive to want to stay on the field. You play on the field, you make millions. You're set for life. These people need to understand that by getting in trouble with the police, they have lost their right to even make that money.
Also, but I want to keep this in mind. Or let's just think about this for a sec. If, let's say, the Cowboys within the next 2 weeks, or let's say by Thanksgiving, they're out of playoff contention.
Right.
Does Jerry Jones release Greg Hardy then, when they're not even sniffing the playoffs?
No,
they're just going to keep him.
You just keep him. You write out the contract because
it's only a 1-year contract.
It's a 1-year contract, but you still have to eat the fines for canceling a contract. So there's usually lost money whenever you go and let a player loose like that. Usually a team is letting you have money, and at this point, why care? You've already committed to the evil. You're already 10, 11, 12 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
What's the extra 5?
Well, let's see what happens in the coming weeks, and if Jerry Jones takes the action to release Greg Hardy, or just keep everything the same.
I highly
Because
doubt it.
either way, he's gonna get grief.
Jerry Jones deserves the grief. He has always been one of those owners where I just have never been
You just
fond of
scratch
him.
your head at the decisions or the decisions he makes, or like the things he says.
Yeah, he's all about him and his image and his team, and it's never within the interest of his fans or the people that support his team. It's always
Right.
it's about him and not about the fans, and that's, I think, what should matter to him is the fans.
Right. But we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I'm Rocky DePaula. He's Gregor Hope Murray. Have a great day, Gales.